This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and coming up, we are going to preview this Niners-Bears Week 14 matchup as Caleb Williams and the Bears make their way to Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. Chicago has lost 6 games in a row. The Niners have lost 3 games in a row, and both of these teams are desperately trying to get back into the win column. This game set to kick off 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, December 8th. 1:25 p.m. out there in Santa Clara. The over-under for this game, 43.5. So the odds makers not expecting a lot of points. And for the first time since that Seahawks loss, the Niners are favorites in a ball game. They were underdogs against Green Bay, underdogs against Buffalo, but San Francisco giving 4 points to Chicago. We will be live for this game. Niners-Bears watch party. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for that, but also for year-round and daily coverage of the Niners. A pivotal, massive offseason coming up for this ball club. We're going to cover it every step of the way. And as you hit that sub button, also hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications, therefore, when we go live, when we push out a show, you will be notified. So let's start here. This is a battle between 2 reeling teams right now. Can the Niners flush their 3 straight losses, 2 of which were as ugly as it gets in the National Football League? They go on the road. They play the Green Bay Packers. Brandon Allen was the starting quarterback. Multiple starters out. Still an embarrassing game for this Niners team, which at the time was fighting for their playoff lives. They didn't play like it. They missed 19 tackles. They were a revolving door on the defensive side of the football, and they coughed it up and turned it over 3 times. They lost that game 38-10. And then on the road against Buffalo, Sunday Night Football, the Bills flat out embarrassed the Niners. In those 2 games, it looked as though the Niners didn't want to get off the plane. They stepped outside, they noticed it was cold out, and they said, "Take me back to Northern California." So, look, can the Niners flush those 3 straight defeats? If they lose 4 in a row, my goodness, you can put the nail in the coffin for this ball club, and I already did that after they choked that game away against Seattle a couple of weeks ago. You think it's bad for the Niners, though? It's not much better for Chicago. The Bears have lost 6 games in a row, the last 3 of which were extremely winnable. In fact, you can make the argument they should have won those games. But Chicago, Matt Eberflus themselves. And then they fired their head coach and Matt Eberflus because of how poorly he managed those games at the end. It was football coaching, game management malpractice. And so Eberflus got fired on Black Friday. Chicago, one of the worst-run organizations in all of sports, they allowed Matt Eberflus after that Thanksgiving game, in which the whole nation was watching him completely melt down, and the Bears melt down. They let him address the media on Friday morning. He's like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready for San Francisco." And then he was fired mere few hours later. So Thomas Brown is now Chicago's interim head coach. He was the interim offensive coordinator a few weeks ago because Matt Eberflus had fired the offensive coordinator that he brought in prior to this year in Shane Waldron, a Sean McVay disciple who kind of got his coaching career started when he was coaching running backs at Wisconsin and coached a couple of really, really good running backs while at Wisconsin. You had Melvin Gordon and Jonathan Taylor who were there, a quick rising coach in the National Football League and a guy who can really command the room. Those 6 straight losses for the Bears. 18-15 loss against the Commanders. That was the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary game, and the Bears haven't been able to win a ball game since then. It's almost as if they have been cursed by the Hail Mary. They got dominated by the Arizona Cardinals on the road, 29-9. They only scored 3 points against the New England Patriots. They should have beaten the Green Bay Packers for the first time in a long time, but the game-winning field goal from short distance was blocked at the end of regulation. They had a heroic comeback against Minnesota at home, but then lost in overtime after Caleb Williams took a bad sack. And then they were down big early to the Detroit Lions. They came back and at least should have forced overtime. So in the last 3 games, look at how Chicago has fared against 3 of the best teams in the NFC. Green Bay Packers are a juggernaut right now. Minnesota Vikings are an elite team. The Detroit Lions, maybe the best team in all of football, and Chicago could have gone 3-0 against those squads. For the Niners, there is still a chance that San Francisco can make the NFL playoffs, even though they're 5-7. 2 games back of the NFC West lead. And so with that, the chances are very slim. We did some math here for the Niners' playoff chances. They have to get in by winning the division because the NFC North is going to get in 3 teams, the 3 teams that I just mentioned outside of Chicago. So the Cardinals have a 45% chance to win the NFC West, even though they lost to Seattle 2 weeks ago and are currently a game behind. Cardinals Seahawks coming your way again on Sunday. Massive game. The Seahawks have a 32.1% chance. They've won 3 games in a row. And the Rams have a 17.4% chance to make the playoffs. To win the division. And then the Niners have a 5.6% chance to win the NFC West. So an uphill battle, no doubt, for this football team. So with that, who you got? I'm going to get to some of my keys to the game, matchups to watch, and an in-depth look at Caleb Williams coming up. But let me know who you're rocking with. CHI for the Bears, SF for the 49ers. I'll give you my score prediction coming up here in just a bit. But first, let's get to our sponsor, our friends at Game Time. You have conference championship weekend coming up in college football. Anytime you're entering December, January football, the environments at some of these big football games are incredible, whether it's at the college level or the professional level. If you want to be a part of those environments, download the Game Time app, because with Game Time, you are guaranteed to get the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. One of my favorite features about this app that makes it better than the other ticketing apps in what is a very crowded and competitive marketplace, you can see the view from your seat before you buy. So you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. If you want to go to this game, Niners-Bears, coming up on Sunday, plenty of tickets available. And you have the list view here of the remaining games for San Francisco. They will play on Thursday Night Football against the Los Angeles Rams. So we'll be running it back with another watch party. And then this is the aerial view of the stadium at Levi's. You want to say, you know what? I want to sit at the 50-yard line. You can pop this up, and you can get those tickets right there. And then here is a view from your seat. So you get the price point and the viewpoint. So download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more. We'll put all of that information down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Niners Report. All right, so a big story in this football game. San Francisco is going to be playing the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams, who is a really special and unique quarterback. In the pre-draft process, I was a little bit worried about some of the intangibles and lack of leadership. I think that his personality is a little bit weird. I don't love how sometimes he has that negative body language on the sideline. He sulks a little bit, and he can overcome those things. And partially he has that body language because he's playing for an abysmal organization, and things around him have really failed him. But when it comes down to the football player, when I scout Caleb Williams and when I scouted him in the pre-draft, this dude's special. He has ridiculous playmaking ability with his arm, with his legs, in structure, out of structure. He truly does make Patrick Mahomes plays at times where he can extend plays in the pocket with his feet, throw across his body, uncork some wild throws. He really puts a lot of velocity behind his throws. He's made some fine throws throughout his rookie campaign. And so he can complete any type of throw on the football field. And he can really drop it down or raise it up to multiple arm angles. And throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game, he has the propensity to make several wow plays that really make you sit back and say, that's why that dude was the number 1 overall pick. Now, one of his weaknesses, holds onto the ball for a very long time because he's always trying to make that big play. And so in turn, he takes a ton of sacks. But for him to have the success that he's had this year, I've been impressed by it because he's had to overcome a head coach who should have never been a head coach in this league, should have been fired prior to the year. He's now on his 2nd offensive coordinator. His offensive line is one of the worst in the league, and he's playing for a bad organization. Caleb Williams this year has as many passing touchdowns as Jalen Hurts. He has more passing yards per game than Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray. He has a higher completion percentage than Trevor Lawrence. He has more passer rating games of north of 100 than Patrick Mahomes here in 2024, and he just set a rookie record, 212 passes and counting without throwing an interception. And so for him to be able to do all of that and produce at that level with no protection in front of him, he's on a second play caller, second head coach, toughest division in football, playing against the likes of the Packers, Vikings, and Lions, I give kudos to the kid. This year, the completion percentage is down. You want to see that number go up a little bit, 61.5%, below league average, but he's thrown for 2,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks, started off slow, picked it up, then went downhill again, and then over the last couple of games, he started to play well. Think about this. Led by a rookie quarterback, the Bears have been in games against the Packers, Vikings, and Lions. And you can make the argument they should have won, but his coach pissed down his leg in real time. Now, this 49ers defensive line and defense are down. And so Caleb Williams will be hard to contain and defend. You're going to have disciplined pass rush lanes. You can't give up on the play because Caleb Williams never gives up on the play. But if the Niners want to rack up some team sacks, they can do that against Caleb Williams because he holds on to the ball for a very long time. And so you knew I was going in this direction. And it's easy to see why if you just read the tea leaves and look at what has happened of late. My read on the Bears? Chicago is playing much better football than what their record indicates. And so I think they're going to win this football game, and I think they're playing much better ball right now than the Niners are, especially as of late. Now, you look at how the Bears stack up offensively and defensively all throughout this year. Offensively, the numbers are not pretty, but keep in mind, rookie quarterback, 2 different play callers, and a head coach who was the worst coach in the league. 23rd in points per game, 26th in yards per game, 32nd in yards per play, 29th on third downs, but number 3 in the red zone. The Niners wish they had that red zone touchdown scoring percentage of 66.6%. If that were the case, this season would be a lot different on that statistic alone for the Niners. Defensively, not a bad ball club. 9th in points per game at 20 even. 22nd in yards per game. 27th on yards per play. So they'll give up yards per game and on a play-by-play basis, but they don't give up a lot of points. Number 5 on third downs and the number 1 red zone scoring defense in the National Football League. Pretty well-coached team. At all 3 levels, Matt Eberflus, a good defensive mind, just not a head coach in this league. As for San Francisco, their points per game have gone downhill after scoring 10 points in consecutive games. So right now they're 16th in points per game, not that far ahead of the Bears, 22.5. 7th in yards per game, 3rd in yards per play still, 7th on third downs. Oh boy, 27th in the red zone. That has been their Achilles heel this year. Defensively, Nick Sorensen, getting tired of it, man. 24th in points per game, 5th in yards per game, 7th in yards per play, 26th on third downs. Niners can't get off the field, and then 31st in the red zone. Teams are scoring in the red area nearly 71% of the time against this Niners defense. Nick Sorensen, get it together. My gosh. My keys to the game here, I have 5 of them. Brock Purdy is going to have to rise up if he's healthy. We'll see how that shoulder looks against Chicago, going up against a pretty damn good defense, and you've had a lot of moving parts around you at the skill position spots. And so Brock Purdy, you want to be paid $50 to $60 million. These last 5 games are an audition. If not, Niners might give you that Baker Mayfield contract. 3 years, $100 million, $33 million per. Niners going to have to contain Caleb Williams. He will want to create out of structure. He is going to try to buy time, use his feet to run around, to throw the ball downfield. He will try to run it. He's going to fake going to the sideline and try to cut it infield. When he does that, hit him in the ribs. Send a statement. The Bears also have a talented offense. DJ Moore, pretty good player. Keenan Allen, good player. Cole Kmet, good player. DeAndre Swift, status up in the air on the injury report for Chicago, but keep an eye on that. This Niners run game, does the approach change? You're without Christian McCaffrey. You're without Jordan Mason. So we'll see a heavy dose of Isaac Guerendo. Will Kyle Shanahan go pass happy? And is Brock Purdy's shoulder up to feeling that way? And then Kyle Shanahan, elevate your team with coaching. You're going up against an interim coach who's never been in the head coaching position. This is a Bears team that just fired Matt Eberflus. And you might be hurt, but now it's time to do your job as a coach and maximize your team and end this 3-game losing streak. As far as injuries go for San Francisco, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, looks as though they're not going to be able to play. And then Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason already out. Niners are thin, and right now their depth is being exposed. Predict the score. Bears on the road against the Niners at Levi's Stadium. Here is my score prediction. Niners aren't playing good right now. They haven't played well all year. They have been a sloppy team, undisciplined team. Players haven't executed. The coaching hasn't been there. And over the last 3 weeks, again, this is important because momentum is a thing. How have the Bears been playing? They should have beaten the Packers, Vikings, and they could have beaten the Lions. The Niners, on the other hand, choked against the Seahawks and have been flat out slapped in the face by the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills. So I'm going Bears 26, Niners 22.